Okay, so let's just do our exercise of ostensibly checking the outside edges. So reaching down and under the foot. So I came across a translation of something young Banhou had written. And in it, he says, energy is the flow of intention. So energy is really the flow of directed mind. But energy always flows in both directions because there's always equilibrium. Very slowly, just bring the arms up into ward off. Imagine that that is the mind, that you're directing the mind upwards and it's taking the arms with it. So you're sort of lifting the arms with intention and then just slowly release. Mind lifts and the arms come with it. And then it hits a point where the arms are just too heavy to get any further. So that's the point when it stops, when the body stops moving, that's when we have to make extra effort to keep the energy moving. So my mind is still flowing upwards and the arms are just balanced by their own heaviness, which is tending to take them down. And then I just soften my mind a little bit and the arms will slowly descend. And now when we lift the arms now, you've got a flow of this bright intention that's coming up. But we want to feel how, as the arms lift, effectively I'm becoming slightly heavier. And I just want to feel that as a driving down through the legs. So my arms are lifting, but that action is driving me down the legs. So the pressure on my feet on the ground is slightly increased. So the mind lifts. So energy is taking the arms up, but it's also pumping down my legs into the ground. So lifting my arms is driving my roots from the two soles of the feet into the ground. And then when I drop the arms, you can feel it sucking back up towards the sacrum. So the point where we become still, in a way, that's when we feel the energy the strongest, because it's no longer masked by the physical movement. So in order to become energetic from the ground, is all you have to do is bend the legs. So just unlock the legs really, so that the legs are having to work a little bit. So central equilibrium is just gravity. So gravity, when we feel it as energy, which is how we want to feel it, as something that's just come into our body and is flowing down through our body. You can think of that as, if energy is the flow of intention, then that's really the mind of the earth. It's the earth operating upon us energetically, which is mind. Mind is just the operation of energy, really. And then that is balanced by, really, it's just my own strength just pushing against the ground to make sure I don't just endlessly descend. But if I can just open up and just relax those muscles that are working as much as possible, then I can feel that as a flow of energy that comes up my body from the ground. This is the whole idea of standing postures. You're not just standing and gritting your teeth. You're really just attending, listening to the energy flowing, watching, listening, attending. So we just want to feel this circuit on the active phase that then reverses to this circuit on the phase of dropping the arms. So I'm lifting the arms. I'm being driven down my legs by this act of lifting the arms. And then I just slowly drop them down. And then that causes my own energy, if you like, my own root to just retract from the ground. Something in you has to just be with the energy. Energy is the flow of intention, so it requires the attention of your mind. But it also requires all the joints to just remain open so that the energy can pass across them. That's the difficult part, really. So you can really feel a real connected line from the ground up to the sacrum and then up the spine. And then you can direct it into either arm, all the way to the top of the head. So one more. And now let's just breathe. So remember, Chen Weiming called Tai Chi swimming in air. So just feel the resistance of the air to your movements. And also feel the resistance that the air puts up to the breathing. So you're using muscles to move, you're using muscles to breathe. So here I'm sucking the air in. And then here, blowing it out. Trying your best to just relax the sacrum and the tail so it can become involved in this movement. So here my tail is trying to extend backwards a little bit. And then here my tail is trying to come under a little bit. I don't want the tail to wind up. I don't want it to retract. I want it to extend and lengthen, but just change the direction it's pointing. And then you can reverse the breathing. So just sucking in as you pull the hands in. And then blowing the air out as you open up. Breathing in. Contracting the belly and pushing its contents into your kidneys. Kidneys are swelling. And then here, just letting everything relax. Feel the heels trying to expand apart here. And feel the toes trying to go out here. And then start turning with it. Feel the two legs independently working. So here my 2 feet are pulling towards each other to bring everything in. And then they're both pushing away. Here pulling together. Then here pushing away. So just feel the back leg. So my back leg is really pushing here. And now my back leg pulls. And now it's become, soon as it becomes a front leg, it starts pushing again. So it's pushing this hip round as this leg is pushing this hip round. Here, this leg is twisting and pulling, bending, and now it's straightening. Now they're both bending, and now they're both straightening. So the function of the mind is to attend the equilibrium. So the mind has to be in two parts because it's equilibrating two flows, two energies. As soon as the mind congeals into a oneness, it becomes a thinking instrument. It's no longer interested in equilibrium. So that's what we're just trying to guard against. So I really have to feel these two legs. They're both doing the same thing. So here, this one is pulling, but this one is pulling as well to bring this hand in. And then this one is pressing, pushing, and this one is pushing. But I want them both to be doing what they're doing, sort of independently of each other. Bring it back. Bring it up and down a few times. So just feeling the flow upwards and the flow downwards that produces this stationary body. And then just slowly down. If the arms are dropping this way, then something is coming up my legs. And then here, if the arms are going up, then something must be driving down through my legs. It's a bit like one of those water pumps. You just crank the handle and the water eventually comes up and squirts out. So I just have to keep the channels open. That's the quiet mind, really. So you've got one mind, really, that's just keeping the openness, maintaining the openness, and then another mind that's just directing so that the energy can flow through the channel. Let's just bring the feet up a little bit. But again, with the outside edges parallel. And now just flexing the spine this way. The tail is pointing down into this heel, and the hand is as though the hand is reaching down into the ground, like you're dipping your fingers into water. Squeeze up, and then something in the foot opens, like a mouth opening in order to take some food into it. The foot opens, and that allows me to be drawn down into the ground. So there's the feeling that I'm being sucked into this, but at the same time, my opening of the foot has brought energy up from the ground. So I'm sort of feeding from the ground is feeding on me. So I'm being sucked down. So something has to open. placing a hand on the wall. So it can just be on anything really. It could be on a tabletop, something that's relatively firm. Make sure you haven't locked the legs, so the legs are a little bit bent. And just feel the hand. So the wall is drawing energy out of my hand. But similarly, I am drawing energy from the wall. So that interface between me and the wall is really alive with flows. And then just bring your attention to the soles of your feet. So the same thing is happening with you and the ground all the time. You're exchanging energy whenever you have contact with anything. And you don't really need to do anything. You just need to just be patient and just try and just have your attention with it. Imagine that you're listening, like your hand is an ear, and you're just trying to listen to the wall, trying to hear what the neighbors are saying next door. And the same with your feet. Your feet are like ears that are listening to the ground. We're actually really sensitive. And so the wall is vibrating as I'm speaking with my speech, and my hand can pick that up. So Evelyn Glennie, remember her, the deaf classical percussionist? She has to perform barefooted because she hears the music through the soles of her feet because her ears don't function. It's quite remarkable just how sensitive the body is when the mind is quiet. And just feel the flow through the body. You can concentrate, you can have the weight slightly more in this foot, and then just feel the exchange that's going on. Or you can just bring your attention even, or just a bit more weight into this foot and feel it through there. So we just want to feel these flows as really being quite strong, real surges. And so the slowness, the seeming peacefulness of Tai Chi is just because we've got a really good balance between strong forces. It's not because it's weak and insipid. It's really charged up, but our mind is so well tuned. Everything's finely balanced. Just try the other hand. And you can just play with the pressure, so I can really lean on this foot. Or you can just have the lightest of touches. So let's just do a little bit of the full and empty. Make sure the front foot has got the outside edge forwards. as I come into the leg is filling with my weight, but I want it to feel like the ground is coming up into it. Because I want to feel it as a flow from the ground, because that will encourage me to keep the channel open more than it will if I just think of it filling up with my weight. So it's not so much a vessel that's filling up, like filling a vase with water. It's more like a tube that we just want this constant flow coming through and up, and then passing down the other way and coming up the other leg. Keeping a little bit of independence between the two legs so that the sacrum can just be quite loose in the hip girdle. Essence, energy, and spirit are controlled by heartfelt sincerity. So it's a matter of the heart. So I want to feel it really operating upon the heart area. This is why the rising energy from the ground is so important, because that's quite enheartening. Sinking is a little bit depressive. So I just really want to feel this lifting my heart. And then let's try a little bit with the other foot forwards. The legs are having to work quite hard, as we know in Tai Chi. So they tend to become sort of congested. So this is a great exercise for just trying to maintain an open clarity in the channel of the leg, so something can really flow up and then can really flow down. Feel the sole of the foot. So something in the sole of the foot has to open up, like it did on the previous exercise when we were tipping like that. I had to open the foot so that the foot could suck me towards it. The energy will come up. So somehow expanding increases the volume in a way, so creates a vacuum, and that will suck me towards the ground, but also suck the ground up into the leg. So here the leg is emptied, but now I have to really expand. So this is spirit. Something in me gets a little bit fierce, and then the energy will start flowing the other way. So here the energy is flowing out of the leg, and then I just expand and it will reverse and come back up. Just try and feel the action of the leg. So this foot is opening up, and that draws me into the leg. So now the leg is bending so that my weight can pass from this foot into this foot. But I don't want it to bend too much, because then it'll just die, because there's no longer this sort of play between the feet. So the leg is bending to bring me forwards, but now it's beginning to straighten to bring the energy up into this arm. And then this leg can bend. But if it bends too much, I'll just flop into the leg. And then the only thing I can really do is step, because there's no energy here, because I need this play between the feet for there to be energy. So here this leg is bending. That's drawing energy up the leg, but now it has to start pushing to drive its strength through the body into the opposite side. So this is difficult. So the leg has to bend and straighten at the same time. But again, it's just an equilibrium. I'm just maintaining an equilibrium, but there's a sense that it bends first. It bends first, and then as my weight comes into it, I just have to keep it back a little bit so that it doesn't flop completely into the leg. So it's easy to feel on the front leg because all you have to do is just make sure you get this hip round, and that will push this hip back. Now, when you're going back, it's a bit more difficult. So here, I'm sinking into the leg, but energy is coming up, and then that energy just becomes really quite strong. So this leg actually starts pushing a little bit to drive its strength through into the opposite hand. So bending the leg, straightening the leg, this leg, and then bending this leg and straightening that leg. Just the two energies again, the sinking energy and the rising energy. We want to feel the placement of the feet, just bringing a little bit more dominance to the ankles. My ankles feel quite big and swollen, and the ankles are connected to the hips, the kidneys, and the shoulders. So when you work with the heels out, it tends to bring the hip in, and it brings the shoulder in to your postures. It just gives this feeling. This feeling of being shrouded. You're inside an armor. But most importantly, it just loosens around the sacrum. And then you just get through this point. Otherwise, you're always just sitting on your legs. You're not getting through them. And then it's just a matter of, with your mind, just really becoming familiar with the whole leg from the sole of the foot all the way up. We don't realize it, but when we're doing Tai Chi, we know that we should be sinking, but there's always a limit that we put on it. And that limit we maintain by just getting tight and causing a block in the leg. When you really get through the leg and just open it up all the way to the ground, then what's maintaining your level is the flow of energy, the equilibrating energies, rather than you just holding on at some point. But it's difficult. Now let's just try just a bit of the stepping. Let's try it with the feet parallel. I sink into this foot. So just feel like the pathway. So I sort of go into the heel, and then it's like my heel wants to turn out like this, or if my heel wants to do this on the ground. So the heel wants to get even more involved. So I sink into the leg and just turn this way, and then just bring this foot up. I just want to really just scan all the way through the leg. Obviously, it has to get tense, otherwise you'd fall down, but just not unnecessarily tense. So I want this feeling that I can really dip underneath the ground. So this is difficult. So John often used to say, all of this work really depends upon honesty. Unfortunately, what has made human beings so successful is that they've learned how to lie. And most of all, they lie to themselves. So here we're just trying to is this leg as relaxed as it can be? Is it allowing energy to come up and down, or is it just holding on for dear life? As you sink into the foot, the rising energy is very much like a central column. And then around it is the sinking energy, which just gradually gets softer and softer the further it goes from the core of hardness. All of these exercises, we'd like to practice just them long enough so that by the time we finish, the posture has pretty much righted itself. So the head is now pulling upwards. And so let's just bring it back. Again, let's just try just a little bit more of this. Feel the sacrum and the two hip bones joined onto it. So where the one becomes two, where the one sacrum, the one spine splits into the two legs. And just keep those two joints, the two sacroiliac joints, just very loose. And then just bringing it up. Don't let the legs lock. Feel the top of the head. Like there's something up there that's just very gently teasing it upwards. I think it was Chen Weiming who said, Tai Chi can be summed up in two statements. One, energy sinking into dantien, and two, mind quiet or mind calm, spirit gathered. So there's a sense that the spirit is gathering and becoming concentrated so that it's getting ready to explode, if you like.